All right, everyone. Today we have a special one. I'm sitting down with someone who has more than earned the title entrepreneur. Chad Nikkel has spent over 25 years building and scaling companies in the home service space, especially in the pool industry. He's founded and exited multiple successful startups, including Aquaman Pools and AquaTouch Pool Purification, and he's a founding partner of National Pool Partners, one of the largest pool service players in the country. He's also the current president of EO and serves as a business guide at Next Level Growth, where he helps entrepreneurs scale their companies without burning out. On top of the business success, he's a Kansas State alumni, a private pilot, and someone who's mastered strategic planning, sales, ops, and leadership at a very high level. But beyond the exits and titles, he's someone who's obsessed with building better leaders, better companies, and better lives. Chad, thanks for being here.
Awesome, Tyler. Boy, you did your homework there. I was like, where is it? Where is this going? So that was solid. Good stuff. Yeah, EO Arizona. One correction.
EO Arizona, my bad.
President of EO Arizona. EO as a whole is 20,000 plus members globally. And we have one global chair, Jamie Puja, who's a friend of mine. But so that aspect of EO, you touched on it. I'm super, very, very pro entrepreneurs organization. So excited to be here. Let's chat.
Yeah, I know. Appreciate you coming on. I guess to kind of start off, what's the part of your story that most people usually overlook, but you think explains who you are most?
Wow. Yeah, that's a question I don't get asked a whole lot. Well, I think it probably goes back to the way I was raised, right? So I've got a really sort of complicated story. I'm adopted and was raised Holdeman Mennonite. So it's sort of a step outside the Amish, very similar to the Amish. So I have a really conservative upbringing, sort of do what you say you're going to do kind of thing, right? My dad taught me early on, it's like, when you shake somebody's hand and you look them in the eye, you figure out a way to do that no matter what, right? And so I think along the way in business, I was less, I guess, detailed on exactly what the contract said, more like, hey, look, this is what we're going to do for the customer. We're going to find a way to do it, right? And, and I had some learning lessons along the way. I lost a company to bankruptcy because of a mistake I made that had I been a more shrewd business person back then, I probably wouldn't have happened, I suppose. But, there you go. So not many people ask that. That was the start.
I like to kind of get deep. It's funny. A good answer though. What do you like? What do you think exiting a company can even do for your credibility when it comes to not only just one but multiple? I mean, some just live a cash flow business, easy lifestyle their whole life. Might print, but they don't ever get that exit. Has that given you not only just one but multiple some type of new confidence after the sale, or did life really not change?
Yeah. So I've exited 4. I've done 7 acquisitions as well. So I've been on the buy side of 7 different deals. And so I think in understanding that aspect of exit and how you feel after that is really important. So from an entrepreneur perspective, the day you sell is great, right? There's a lot of zeros in the bank account. You're feeling, like this is amazing. The risk probably went down, all those things. But then, a few weeks later, suddenly you're not needed anymore. And it's a real thing, right? And I always tell people that are thinking about selling, like, you need to understand how you're going to feel 2 weeks, 30 days, 60 days later, because that aspect of, like, I'm an entrepreneur, always have been, always will be, right? Like, I tried retirement for a while. It didn't work. I played golf 4 days a week. Didn't work for me, right? I'm an entrepreneur. And that aspect of, like, being needed, as far as in the business, growing the business, and sort of having that visionary piece, really, really important to understand how you'll feel after a sale, because it is a real thing. And a lot of entrepreneurs sort of fall into a bit of a depression after that, right? They're suddenly, they have a midlife crisis, or they, just things happen because they didn't really think about what was next. So there's this thing in EO we call it there. It's called What's Next Forum. And it's exactly for that. It's what's next after a sale.
Interesting. I was talking to my EO mentor too earlier today, and he was talking about like Ikigai, the whole, like, what do you like? What are you good at? What can you actually sell? Mm-hmm. The question, what would you do if you had $100 million in your bank account? Or what would you do if you didn't get paid for it? Do you think that's applicable if you're 25, just starting? Or do you think you have to kind of, make some bread first and then get up there, and then you can ask that?
Well, I think it's a okay thought equation. It's two different things. What do you have to do if you didn't need money, or what do you if you have $100 million, right? $100 million, you probably find ways to help other people. But if you didn't need money, I mean, you can, move to Zimbabwe tomorrow and get by on, $200 a month, right? There's ways to need less money, right? So that's not the thing. But I think as you're an entrepreneur starting out, maybe sort of early on in the equation of being an entrepreneur, sort of setting that up to give you that return on life, I think is really important, right? Is one of the reasons that I coach, right? Is like getting entrepreneurs that return on life, because even at the early starts of a business, it has to be worth it. The hours that you're going to put in, the things that you're not going to do because you're focused on your business, there has to be this trade-off and this return on life. And I really believe that people should set up their businesses in a way so they're getting that return on life very early on. This whole thing of work 80 hours a week, and burn yourself out that's not the badge of honor that it sounds like, right? It's the opposite. Sort of the same answer if I had $100 million or if I set the business up to give me return on life, right? That can be done without the $100 million.
Got it. To kind of rewind the story back when you graduated engineering degree, Kansas State, did you know you were going to did you hop straight into starting your own business? Like, what did that look like? Did you work for the man first? How did you get into that?
Yeah, I started my first business very young, 15 actually. So pre K-State. And just to clarify for your listeners, I did not graduate. So
you didn't? Okay, my bad.
I went
Even
to K-State. Yeah, I went to K-State for an engineering degree, but I'm an entrepreneur, and college wasn't a fit for me. So, I've got a son that's in medical school now. He's an amazing student, and, entrepreneur is not really for him, but he's a student, right? It's the opposite for me. So that aspect of coming out with the information I got at K-State, and I guess I'm fairly analytical. So that allowed me to sort of see that, but I did realize that college was probably not the answer. Entrepreneurism was where I was headed.
Say it turned out okay.
I don't know. I mean, we're still cooking the egg. Yeah.
Dang. Let's go. So 15, what was that business?
I was a roofing company. So my first business was a roofing company, residential roofing. And yeah, we started in the school of hard knocks with that. Let me tell you, it's not the easiest business in the world.
How do people take you seriously at 15? You're starting a roofing company. It's not like a lemonade stand. It's roofing.
Yeah. Very few actually. And it was an issue when I was young. It was a big issue because I would sell to, like boards and commercial building owners and people. And, I'd present to a group of people, and they'd be like, here's this 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, and why should we believe him, right?
Yeah.
And so I really had to, the business had to have its own merit, right? Like, this is how we do things, right? And this is how we do them every single time. And, almost definitely more than I have to today, right? Because there was a lot of ageism there as a young teenage kid. And we made a lot of mistakes. That being said, at that age, I had a lot of drive. Like, there's just today, at 50, it's a bit harder than it was then, right? Like, things knock you down a bit farther than they did when you're 18, you don't really think about it. You're like, next, right? So a lot of good lessons in that.
Wow. And you've always built companies to scale is your philosophy, not just for cash flow. Do you think that's mainly because it's trade-based, service-based, local, like you could get a good multiple over time, or like with your, not to keep stacking on questions, but like your current business next level where it's more coaching consulting, do you think it's not really sellable because it has to do with you and it'd be tougher to replace you?
Yeah, I'm trading time for money now. That that's the thing. But when it comes to building home services companies, I've designed everything to scale. Some businesses, I took a roofing company to almost $47 million in revenue, and the pool business, was $11 million in revenue when I sold it. So that aspect of building it to scale, I think all businesses, especially in the home services space, have to sort of be organized that way. Some don't, maybe don't pursue those levels, but organize it in a way that it can scale without the person, right? Without that sort of bottleneck person is sort of the secret of having a company that is an actual business, right? and not just replacing a job, right? You need a company that is its own organism, right? So the leadership team needs to be able to make decisions independent of the visionary. And if you can't do that, it'll never scale past that one person, right? So I guess to answer your question in whole, scaling the business so you could sell it, or scaling the business so that it runs efficiently and on its own, are really the same thing, right? At certain levels, it's worth more money, right? The multiples get better as businesses, a $3 to $5 million business is worth a lower multiple than a $15 million business. That's just how it works.
Right. Right. Um, do you think you personally are more of the operator side or more of the visionary side? I mean, being analytical, you said, and do you think you could do both by yourself, or do you think you need to have that counterpart, whether they're on salary or equity partner?
Yeah. So I am unique where I've been the money, but I've never really had a partner, an operating partner. Part of that is I'm fairly type A, right? So I'm a pilot, and, I'm definitely the guy that doesn't panic, right? So, I just never had that, never had the right situation. I think I'm probably ready now to do something with a partner because I'm at that stage of my life. But I guess to back up a bit, am I a visionary or an operator? I'm probably a little of both. I'm very visionary from a perspective of, I really love startup, the phase of companies, like really figuring it out, capturing, killing the market, right? Like being the best in the market. I think we did that with Aquaman Pools. We were the second largest service company in Phoenix when we sold, and I bought 25 pools. It was a very, very small company, and we were doing 25 pools a week when I first bought that company. We were doing 2,000 a week in Scottsdale when I sold it. So we kept it to a very small area, right? But to sort of finish the point there, I think the scale aspect of it, home services, you need that to sort of help the people in the business also have opportunity. It's not just about the owner building it to a number where he's done or he or she is done, right? It's about creating opportunity inside the business for the other people, for your employees.
Why do you think you have been so successful personally in scaling, not just being the HVAC guy who's had the same business for 30 years as an owner operator, but someone who's actually built out teams and exited, like what, because you took massive action, because you studied, you had mentors? Like, what do you think was the secret sauce for you?
Well, it's all of those things you mentioned, right? Because those sort of build the entrepreneur, they build the layers. But I think for me, I've always looked at the business as, how can we sort of set the operating system for the business? How can we set the business up to essentially build upon itself, so that it's not just, we're not just going to go out and do X number of pools because it creates X number of revenue. Because then when Mrs. Smith says, hey, my sister, just moved to town and she needs a pool company, and I want to refer you. Well, no, we don't take pools anymore. Pools are at this level. Like, part of the reason for building a good business is to sort of keep the wolves away from the customers, right? I used to have this saying that I would tell my sales team at my largest roofing company. I said, it's your responsibility and your job when you're in Mrs. Smith's living room to give her every reason to say yes, right? Every reason to say yes, because the next person through the door is that shitty contractor that's going to take her $10,000 deposit and never show up. So it's our responsibility to keep the wolves away, right? So when you think about business in that way, you're building a business to sort of help the customers in a way that they can get quality work. But it doesn't matter, insert HVAC, roofing, pool, it doesn't matter. But that sort of thought or reasoning, or just cause, let's call it, of doing quality work so the customer can hire a company, and you don't have all the horror stories that are out there. Contractors, the horror stories are a dime a dozen, right? So that's what I felt was our responsibility. You can't build a company and stop scaling it one day and still do that. Because if you do that, if it's a lifestyle business, then that can't be your just cause. Then it has to be something else.
Why?
Because then you can't take on Mrs. Smith's sister when she moves to town. Your capacity is met. That's it, right? That's all we have. That doesn't mean your capacity needs to 10x every year. But your capacity needs to grow. This theory of business growth keeps up with inflation is total bullshit, because inflation is just the monetary measurement, right? If a business grows at 3 to 4%, it doesn't stay even. It's going backwards because inflation is just the monetary measurement. The rest of the things that go into growing that business are multiples of that. So if a business isn't growing at 10, 15% minimum, you're not going above flatline. So that's another way to think about growth.
So from a more, if we zoom out a little bit, what's the why? Like, what's the reason you even do what you do or did what you did? Like, starting at 15, I mean, were you born with it? Was it a nature versus nurture thing? Are you trying to be, some gazillionaire? Or you just do it for the fun of the game? Like, I mean, I look at money kind of like it's points. Like, this is all a game, right? Money's not even, it's all points. We're in a kind of, I'm Christian, but you could call it somewhat of a simulation. Like, we're trying to, make some points.
Yep.
You trade points for whatever. But like, is that you love the game of helping others and making points in the meantime? Or like, what's the reason behind everything? Like your why, I know it's a pretty typical question, but what
Yeah.
is that?
What is the why, right? So, I mean, I would say that, I mean, money is a measurement tool. It's not, it can't be the thing though. Money is a measurement tool. It's how we gauge success. It's important because we can do things with money, but it's not it can't be the reason, right? Because if it's the reason, then all of a sudden every decision is made based on money, right? And we stop taking the human element into consideration. And so back the conversation up about 5 minutes when I was talking about what we can do to make sure we do a quality job for a customer, right? That is a different why than Mrs. Smith paying me a profit on the job, right? So that aspect of growing a business that can do that successfully and have a place for employees to, do better is obviously a big thing. But honestly, for me, I like the win aspect. I like here's the market. How can we win, right? When I started in the pool business, I sold a company I had in Colorado, moved here to get away from winter, and needed something to do. And I did some research on the pool industry in Phoenix, in the Phoenix Valley, and there was at the time 450,000 pools in the valley. The largest pool service company at the time was Pool Man, and they had about 3,000 pools. I'm like, this is less than 1% penetration. That's terrible. I used to own a marketing company. I know how to do better than that, right? Just let's go turn this on and figure that out. So now what I didn't do the math right on was about 150,000 of those pools are all done by homeowners. So that makes the market a bit tighter, but it's still a very large market, right? And so sort of figuring that out and then tweaking and designing the business to win and capture the marketplace and don't chase the shiny penny or the squirrel, stay focused. Here's your swim lane. We're going to swim to the end of the damn pool, right? We're not going to stop at the ladder. And that's sort of, another thing. It's like, stay focused on that swim lane and swim to the end, right? So we did not leave Scottsdale until we had 1,000 pools a week.
Wow.
And that is really hard to do. It's much easier to grow a company larger if you do pools all over the Phoenix Valley. But I was damn focused on, we are going to have density. And what happened, we had customers that would say, oh, we see your trucks every single day. We see you're everywhere. And I'm like, no, we designed the routes so that we showed up on Tuesdays and Wednesdays there. And there was a bunch more trucks in that neighborhood at that time. And then we would skip a day or two and then do the same thing. And it just added so much density that the customers thought we were there all the time, right? And so little things like that allowed us to really capture the market. And I think home services in general there's lots of good opportunities to do it that way.
Why local? Why home service? Why local business? Why not like SaaS or something like, those big sexy things that people are trying to bit, like what specifically have you always been trades? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I think, people are willing to, it doesn't matter what the economy is doing up or down, you're still going to spend money on your nest, right? So whether you own your home or you rent it, you're going to be willing to spend the most of your disposable money on your nest. And that in America, that's just a reality of the United States. So to me, that's economically inelastic. And that was sort of the focus on that. And then why home services? I believe that putting together technicians or, leveraging labor and finding good A player type people will always make you stand out above the rest. So you will have the opportunity to choose me because I am better at putting together a group of A players and sort of convincing those people to on our mission and focusing our mission, which allows me, the entrepreneur, to win. And I think that when a business owner sort of looks at it that way, like, what are you really good at? If you're really, really good at sales, you're really, really good at operations, what is that thing? And then it just so happens that home services has a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of people that are not great business people.
Yeah.
They're okay, but they're not good business people. I mean, the pool industry in Phoenix Valley, there's a lot of pool guys. I mean, I think the number was like 2,000 pool companies. It's crazy, but there's not that many that are good businesses.
Right.
That's a different thing, different conversation.
I'd say 80% of my clients are home service clients. And it's, like it's just the marketing. It's not, you know what I mean? Like they're like, it's just behind when it comes to,
Yeah. I love home services, and I coach almost entirely in the home services vertical, right? Because I understand it. I know about technicians. I understand what the sales process is. And I understand how Mrs. Smith is going to react. All these things. It's different than a bank or a restaurant or, whatever, it's like the home services aspect of it is just something I'm very comfortable with. And I speak to speak.
So when you dominated Scottsdale, I mean, what did your money model look like? Were you more of the guy like, let's get a lot of volume, low prices, big brand awareness, let's help out as many people as possible? Or were you, hey, like, low volume, high price, and just really have good margins?
Yeah. So pools is a little unique in some things. You probably have clients that are in that space, but pools people have this theory of just getting a bunch of service companies and then making money on the repairs or, whatever, right? I don't believe that fits my way of doing things. I believe that you need to make money on whatever profit vertical it is, right? So if it's service, we need to make a profit on service. And if it's repairs, we need to make a profit on repairs. If it's, you touched on AquaTouch pool purification. We did high pressure reverse osmosis of pools. So if it's that, we need to make money on that. None of these things are loss leaders. We should make money on all of them, right? So there's a temptation for it to just be cheaper than the other guy because we have 60 little trucks running around town, but it's unnecessary. We can build a viable product and sell it at a profit in each of those verticals, and the customers will be happy to choose us, right? As long as we do a good job and do what we say we're going to do. So I don't believe in the loss leader model. Never have. I know there's people doing it that way in the pool industry, but these days you can buy a filter and a pump online and put it in yourself, right? So there's a pretty big risk that the customer's not going to buy the repair from you anyways.
Interesting. I'd love to get your input on this. Colby McMahon?
I know the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. He's in EO. He just joined last year. He's my old business partner. We started a cabinet and flooring business like 2 years ago, locally. And I since left to start my own thing, 100% equity. But yeah, him and he was majority owner, but long story short, he basically was more of the, let's target flippers. Let's do a lot of volume, like markup, maybe 30%. Like just the margins were just tiny. We do a lot of deals, high revenue, but the profit was just slim to nothing. Learning what I know now, if I were to do that business again, I would target more luxury, like like people who already have the money and aren't just trying to nitpick you and nickel and dime you like flippers. Yeah. Would you take that same approach as a residential luxury kitchen remodeling business, or would you take more of that, hey, let's still target the flippers and take more volume specifically in that industry?
Yeah, so I'm not saying that either one of those is wrong. I'm just saying what sort of fits me, right? I believe that every entrepreneur sort of has their style of doing things. And whether you're going to sell, like you mentioned, the luxury market, which you're going to do less jobs at a higher margin, or if we're going to sell, lots more opportunities and have to do them at a smaller margin because, we're doing them in parts of town that the margins are less. So those still have to sort of fit the model. The $1.50 hot dog at Costco is the $1.50 hot dog, right? So the high volume, low margin model isn't necessarily bad. It just needs to fit the entrepreneur. And if that isn't your style, then you shouldn't do it, right? So I think I mentioned this the other day. It's like what your strategy is, what fits you. There should be no round pegs into square holes or square holes into square pegs into round holes. This is you. Commit to it, right? And be that person, because what you are, what your core value is, what you are genuinely will come through, right? So I work with a lot of clients on core values, right? On sort of like developing, who they are as a company. And I talk about this thing, what I call the good parent initiative, or the good parent, initiative, right? It's like, don't do it because I said you should do it. Do it because I do it that way. Core values should never be aspirational. They should never, if the leadership team 100% of the time isn't going to do the core value, then it shouldn't be on your damn wall. And it's okay that you don't have to have that core value. It's okay. Because people do this all the time. They're like, oh, we're this and we're that. No, you're really not. You're a mass producing company, and you're doing a lot of jobs at low margin. And some of those jobs are not going to be as good as the others. You just need to understand and accept that, and just know that high quality work is not your core value. So the flip side, basically what you mentioned, is luxury. That's high quality work, right? We're going to do high quality work. And now we're going to be the Four Seasons of flooring, right? So that is the aspect of it. This is who we are. We're that way 100% of the time, without fail.
Brand identity thing. Okay, got it. So now getting into what you currently do on the coaching side, right? Even my business, I'm more on the coaching side. We do some stuff done for you, but a lot of it's information. It's systems. Mine's more detailed on social media marketing and running ads. Yours is more general, broad, because you have so much experience and everything else on the back end too. How do you think AI affects people like us? Do you think that, of course you can ask AI, what would I do here in this situation? But maybe they prompted it wrong, or maybe they want to buy certainty from someone like you who have actually done it. So do you think coaching is going to get affected by AI, or do you think it's just no, we're in a great spot. It's just getting started. It's just a matter of distribution and being the best known for what you do.
Yeah. It is a question I ask myself regularly, right? Because, building a GPT that you just sort of ask the questions to, but the thing is really on action, right? So the difference between what does AI tell you to do, which I 100% agree. If the prompt's not correct, you're not getting, you're garbage in, garbage out to some degree. Now, AI is better than searching Google, right? So, if you're not already using it all the time, you're behind the eight ball, right? But when it comes to coaching, what's inside, like what comes from experience and that accountability piece, AI doesn't have, right? It has the information, but it doesn't have the piece from me as a coach where I sort of am in the room and pulling the information out and then holding you accountable to that information, right? If Tyler, if you say, hey, I want to be a $20 million company this year, and we're doing 16 million last year, we need to do 14 million. These are the things we're going to do. My job as a coach is to sort of help you see the peripheral, right? Like the things you might not be thinking about. But then the other part of it is to sort of hold you accountable to the pieces. Like, hey, what is the team doing on this thing? And where do we need help sort of, keeping the plate spinning? And AI can't do that, right? Like, I know you can probably ask it, you can feed the information in, but that aspect of, really having that person in your corner, is important, I think. So my answer is, I think coaching is in a good spot. I think, I love helping people. I can tell you do as well. And, I think that's much different than AI.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, plus it tells you what you want to hear too. Like I'll talk to ChatGPT and it's be like, should I do this? Yes, you should. It's like, no, versus if I hire you, you're like, no, Tyler, stop. Like I appreciate people like you who are direct and tell you, even if sometimes I'd almost rather someone be slightly wrong, but they say it like what they mean versus someone who just agrees with everything, and it's like,
it's the peripheral that you should think about, right? It's the things that you might not be seeing in the corner that it's my job to sort of bring up. And you can say, you know what, never mind, I'm not going to do it that way. Perfectly okay answer, but it's my job to sort of bring it to your attention.
Got it. So do you think, this is a broad question, do you think coaching businesses like yours and mine can sell, or would you ever want to build it to sell if you hire coaches underneath you and slowly remove yourself? Or are you like, no, I'm not even going to bother with that?
Yeah, so I don't have any interest in selling my practice because to me it's a perfect fit for where I'm at in life. I get to sort of help other people build their businesses now instead of me doing another one, right? So that's a really really strong fit for me. I do think you can sell coaching businesses 100% if you set it up for leverage, right? So you need to have just what you talked about, coaches that are helping others and set that up. I know Andy Bailey personally sold Petra Coach, and some other people like him, right? So there's definitely some opportunities there, but not where I'm at the moment, right? Like for me, I get a huge ton of personal value out of just being in the coaching room with an entrepreneur and their leadership team and just digging into the details and helping them sort of solve those problems and get to a place where they're on the path for what they want.
It's fulfilling. Do you think
100%.
do you think you have to, like, if you're me, do you think you have to go work for the man first? Or do you think it's good to, hey, no, dive in, be an entrepreneur, learn, make mistakes yourself instead of being in a cubicle? I'm curious on your take.
Well, I'm the wrong person to ask that because I started this at 15. So
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I punched the time clock. So I lost that first business in bankruptcy and I punched the time clock for 3 years. I went and worked for Learjet. I'm a pilot, right? So I got to play with airplanes for 3 years and, it was good. It was not a long-term fit for me, but it was good. My wife was pregnant at the time, so it was like we needed health insurance. Um, and all that stuff, right? So, but yeah, I'm the wrong person to ask the question. What I would say, the simple answer is go find somebody that's done it before. Have them be your mentor or a coach or things like that, right? Like you can hire a good coach that's a good fit for you, and help not make those mistakes. My sort of business, I coach teams with leadership teams, but I also have some clients that are like maybe a little less revenue and don't have a full set out leadership team, but have enough, cash to pay me, where they're like, well, we're building this leadership team. We just like to not make the mistakes. Right. So if I hire you, I know you've made some mistakes, right? There's some damn scars on there. So just help me not make those. And then those $200,000 hires, you don't make those mistakes. Right. So that's another way to look at it too. It's like, do I need to go work for the man? I would say no. But
Got it. Okay. I love that. No, I love it. I've heard both sides of the spectrum. So I
yeah,
love to get your input. When you're managing a team, how do you be that boss that people want to work for? Like, not a Michael Scott, but like a fun boss, a good
yeah,
boss who has good culture. And
yeah,
then the boss who also gets shit done,
yeah,
that actually moves the needle forward. I feel like I struggle with that sometimes where I'm like sometimes too Mr. Nice Guy, but I need to be more like whatever. So
yeah.
has that ever been a balance for you, or is there a secret sauce to anybody who's listening who might struggle with that?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the big things is you really have to own your core values as a person, right? And you got to be willing to, you know, toe the line, man. This is how it is, right? And be consistent. One of the big problems with visionary entrepreneurs is they have different ideas all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so you get a lot of this knee jerk whipsaw reaction. So I think to help visionary entrepreneurs sort of have less of that, just have a sort of filter or process that you put those new ideas through so that the team doesn't constantly wonder what we're doing next, right? So that's key. And but just do what you say you're going to do, right? It's back to this good parent thing. The team will respond if you as the leader are consistent. Hey, this is who I am. I will have your back. If you're showing up late day in day out, we got to have a conversation because the rest of the team depends on me making the decision that's good for the company, right? CEO is responsible for making the decision for the good of the company, and that sometimes means removing people and hiring someone else, right? And those are tough decisions. But if you have that consistency, like this is my word, and 100% of the time my word my word is my word, right? And being there for people. You don't have to help people out financially, things like that, but you need to sort of like be there for the team, right? Like this is the team,
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. culture is just, to me, it's like massive. It's like, yeah, we're on a floating rock in the middle of space. We're all gonna die. Can't take this stuff with you.
Yeah,
Like just do what you love. But also like, have goals. Like I grew up playing golf, wanted to go
yeah,
pro, wasn't good enough. And then, you like to win, you said. Like I think athletes have a edge on
yeah,
others in business.
yeah.
Like, did you play any sports growing up?
Yeah. So that church that I went or that I grew up in, I went to a parochial church school and didn't. I played volleyball and baseball, but nothing what I would what normal people would consider sports. My son played football in high school, but that aspect of I don't really have that. I love sports. I love the competitiveness, but I didn't have the professional aspect that you did, right? So, yeah,
But you love to win. So do you think that was nurture, or like you were just born that way?
I think I was born that way because my mom was definitely not that way.
Okay.
Yeah, she was very she was very kind and meek person, right? And to be like we're gonna win, you still have to be able to make some hard decisions, right? You have to go ahead and tackle the guy once in a while, right? And so that wasn't who my mom was. My dad was sort of disorganized, and yeah, he also probably didn't quite have that same aspect that I did. So maybe that's why I got it because they didn't have it, and I was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I've had people say that, you know, I started young, and the only way I was going to get a car is if I worked two jobs and paid for it myself, right? So, I sometimes I think that might be the reason that I have built multiple companies is because it was never in either of my parents, DNA.
Yeah. I know that's sick. Yeah. My parents aren't entrepreneurs either. Like it's
Yeah,
weird. I don't know, bug, maybe got bit by a bug or something.
yeah. Where
It's
is that
crazy.
damn bug?
Yeah. Right. What do you think the future holds? And just maybe home service, maybe coaching, maybe just business in general. I mean,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on, how AI is going to start taking over everything? It already is. People are like, how do I implement it? Or they're scared. Or like, do you have bright hopes for the future? Or you think like America is just going to shitter, like,
No, I mean, I have definitely have high hopes for the future. I think that AI is helping everybody be more efficient. Um, and so who I think is going to win is all the efficiency aspects are getting better and better and better. But who's going to win is the people that can still make it personal, right? So from a home services perspective, your sales process has still got to be personal, right? Like people want to buy the air conditioner from somebody that, makes it personal, right? And so, all the efficiency things that AI helps us with, is going to allow us. The companies that are going to win are the ones that sort of take that extra time that's given back to them, and they put that back into the process to make it more personal, so that the homeowner really feels, that they're getting that special sauce. I mentioned this the other day, but you know, certain hotel brands are really good at that aspect of that personal attention. And I really think that, my large roofing company, what we did when we sold a job, we would deliver a small vase of flowers. It was like a 16-ounce pint glass that had our logo on it. And we had to deal with a flower shop, and they would make a small vase of flowers, and they would deliver it to the lady of the house. Right. And we would just put it on the porch, and we had a note that said something like, we'll make sure to protect your rose bushes or something like that. Because roofs, when you tear a roof off a house, it is a gigantic mess. It is terrible. You don't want to be anywhere near it, right? And everybody's worried about it, right? And so we would do that, and we would put it, we just put it on their porch, and that's the aspect. Those are the things. Finding something like that sets you apart and makes
dang.
people, buy stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it is really, especially in the world of AI. It might not even be scalable, but
Yeah.
it's still the unscalable activities that show the.
Yeah, yeah. I used to tell my pool guys, like, roll the garden hose up, right? It has nothing to do with the pool, but you walked over it, just roll it up, right?
Yeah.
Take the trash cans back to the house. Like, those little things make the difference, in a world where all we're doing is staring at phones and being impersonal.
So to zoom out, talking to Chad, not business, what do you think your biggest weakness and your biggest strength is as a person?
This question, what?
I know, right?
Yeah.
I
My
love seeing their
biggest,
reactions.
yeah, my biggest strength and my biggest weakness. I mean, I think my biggest weakness is that sometimes I can lose focus from a perspective of, what I want to do in life, what I want to
Oh
do.
yeah.
I think that's my serial entrepreneur bug, unfortunately. That's definitely my weakness. But my biggest strength is probably that, probably ability to see around the corners a little bit. As a coach, I help other people do that, but just sort of like see, things that we should be thinking about or do or plan for. I think has served me well in life, and even just even as a human being, right? Like in a 5.5 year relationship at this point, like you sort of have to think about what's next, right? And think about what's important. What's the next thing that's important to you?
How old are you now?
50, turned 50
50.
this,
Okay.
this year. Yeah.
Let's go. Happy belated or that's sick.
Yeah.
Right on the
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I believe I'll give you my little theory on life. I believe in sections of time, right? And I got a tattoo about it. Camera can't see it,
let's go.
but yeah, I have a new tattoo about this thing, and like I think people, things, businesses, whatever it is, are in your life for a section of time, whether it's 6 days, 60 days, 60 years. It doesn't matter what that section of time is, but for that section of time, you need to be present in that section of time, and you need to be thinking about that section of time rather than thinking, hey, when I'm 80, I'm going to do this, or next year we're going to do this. It's like right now you should be present in that moment and think about that section of time. And that's sort of my theory on human life. But I have to remind myself I have 3 Sanskrit words on my arm: present, moment, and experience, because I love experiences. I've been to 72 countries in the world,
So
and
sick.
yeah, experiences is where it's at.
That's literally my goal, like dream, like like that is we could talk for an hour about that alone, but that's
Yeah,
crazy.
I love travel.
Dang. What sacrifices or trades did you make then growing up to be able to do all this? Because you can't do everything, right? So it's like, do you
Yeah.
enjoy your 20s because you only 20 once or whatever? Or do you work hard, work your balls off, and then 30, 40, 50, you can enjoy the fruits of your labor more so? Like what sacrifices, I guess, did you have to give away? Did you not date in your like what was that? What did that look like?
Yeah, no, I got married when I was 20, so the opposite.
Okay.
But yeah, but I would tell you, if I could go back to my 20-year-old self, it would be to sort of have that speech with him and say, hey, look, this section of time, be here, because then I don't think I actually sort of grew into my own skin until I was in my 40s, right? In my 30s, I cared about what everybody thought about me, right? I was like, got to get a big business. I got to have the fancy car and the fancy house and the fancy watch and all this shit, right? Today, I live in a condominium. I have a 1,600 square foot condo, and I mean it's great, it's nice, but I don't really care what people think about me, right? And so in my 40s, I sort of grew into that thing of like, this is me, and if you don't like me, that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. Doesn't mean I don't like you, but I'm not a fit for everybody, right? But I believe in the human experience. We should just be kind, right? So that aspect of me sort of in my own skin. If I could go back to my 20-year-old self, it'd like, just be here now. Don't think about, you need to, obviously you need to plan for the future,
Yeah.
but you need to experience what's there because like you said, you're in your 20s once, right? Your skin will only look that good once, right? It doesn't get better. But I don't know. That's my aspect. But what comes with age or is wisdom. Probably you get like the experiences teach you things like, hey, the next time this happens, lean to the left a little bit more, or hit harder, or whatever that is. I think that that comes with age, thankfully.
Yeah, no, that's a really good response. I think about that all the time. I'm like, I try not to get too existential about it and just take action today because it stops you from actually taking action the more you think about it.
It does.
Because,
Yeah.
but no, I love that.
Yeah. I mean,
How?
life, one last thing on that: life is short. Like
Yeah.
relationships are important. It doesn't matter who it is.
Mhm.
But you know, one day was the last time I talked to my mom, and that's a real thing. And that's how life works. Right. So it's like having that presence to understand that it's important to, say things. Don't wait, you know,
My
life will be
golf
over.
coach, old golf psychologist coach taught me, he's like, the acronym WIN, what's important now? And like
Yeah.
being where your feet are, like Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah. I mean, I think I want to be remembered probably for that person that lived in the moment, because that's what I struggle with. I struggle with living in the moment. Right. So I want to remember for that. Probably I want to be remembered for someone that was able to hold space for people, because I think you can't fix people, like people fix themselves, right? So holding space for people and really, being there and having a conversation and just, holding space, I think is an art that few people are really good at. So that's a thing. And then obviously for somebody that enjoyed life, that went and did the things, right? Went and had coffee in the Wadi Rum Desert at 6 a.m. in the morning, right? Like things like that, right? Like go do them, right? Like I said, I grew up in a very, very small community on a farm in Kansas, and people believed the local newspaper. They didn't even believe the television station or the radio station, right? And the first time I went to the Middle East, I realized that nothing of what the people said back home was true, So get outside your home state, your home city, your home country, and go see other things, because the world's a big place.
Do you think it's better to go travel and do all that now, or I guess when you're younger and then, lock in, or to lock in now and then go and do that once you have the bread?
My
Like,
answer will always be travel. Always. I like. There's no. Yeah. You obviously you can afford certain style of travel more later in life, probably, but the reality of it is nobody's promised tomorrow, and you know, I I missed going to Ukraine 6 years ago. I had an opportunity to go to Ukraine and didn't do it. Right. So, and now who knows when I'll get back. Right. Like little things like that. If you just think about it differently, it's not just about your financial opportunities or what things cost. It's things change, and it's important to sort of experience things as you have opportunity. I don't care about the cars and the houses and any of those those things anymore. I mean, obviously some of those things are important, but it's the experiences where it's at. And if it's once a year, great. If it's 5 times a year, great. Do what you can, I think, but being able to experience other things in other places and have experiences with cultures. I spent 2 days in Egypt with this guide and talked about Islamic faith for 2 solid days. He's like, you can ask me any question you want. And I sat in a cafe and smoked shisha with him for 4 hours in the heart of Cairo while we are waiting for a thing. And he was like, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, what do you do? And he said, well, I go to this cafe and smoke shisha. I'm like, okay. I'm like, is it safe for me? He's like, yeah, I'll be there. It's fine. And, so like having those experiences and sort of understanding things from his point of view, sort of makes you a different person. It makes you a more rounded person.
well rounded. Yeah, I solo backpacked 9 countries last year, just staying $30 a night hostels, just meeting people, whatever.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's insane. Like it just opens your mind up. What was the coolest place you've ever been to, if you had to pick one?
Oh man. Yeah. That's a tough question, because I love them all for
Yeah.
all different reasons. And, you know, it always, my mind always goes to like the recent places that I've been. When I get that question, I was just in Norway, north of the Arctic Circle. It was fantastic.
Sick.
Um, but I still have pretty impressionable piece of me when I went to Middle East for the first time, because it was just so different than the way I was raised. I've been to the Middle East multiple times. I really love Africa, though. I like
Really?
animals.
Morocco? Have you been to
I've
Morocco?
not been to Morocco, actually.
Okay.
I've been all over Africa, though. I've been 11 countries in Africa. I've been to
Wow.
Africa 6 times, 5 times, 6 times, 6 times. Yeah, Africa is amazing. It's incredible. So going to Sri Lanka in February. Excited about that. So
Dang. Is
yeah,
Cape Town good? I know the crime's pretty high
yeah.
there.
Cape Town's cool, but I wouldn't say Cape Town is Africa. I mean, it's
You're
Cape
talking
Town
Africa.
is big fancy city. It's cool. We hiked, did a lot of hiking in Cape Town. Did the cage dive with great white. Didn't see a great white, but yeah. But there other parts. I would go to other parts of Africa before Cape Town for sure.
Got it. Got it. Well, I love to ask this kind of last question to round things off, but what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice I've ever received. Um, I mean, I think this is going to sound super cliche, but probably to love with your whole heart, right? Like, don't hold back. Don't say I love you. Don't wait. Like, don't hold back. Like that thing, this is the reason that we're here, right? That we're human beings. It's the thing that sets us apart. Um, yeah, I think that's probably the best advice I've ever received.
Appreciate it. Love that. Yeah, it's important. Yeah, it's super
Yeah.
important.
How
Well,
about you? Why don't you answer that question?
you're
Yeah.
putting me on the spot. Frick, I don't. I heard one I like, which I like. It's kind of like I don't know if number one, but I like it a lot. Is treat everybody like an undercover Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Kind of
like it.
hits like a good visual, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I like. Are you religious or faithful at all, or no? Not really.
Not really. I was raised that way. So
Yeah,
3 times a week in church, right? So,
yeah.
I respect it, but I'm not religious at this part of my life, but I definitely respect it for sure. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I sometimes I struggle with that, like the whole money thing,
Yeah.
business, like money, but then you want to be faith, like it's like that
Yep.
finding that balance. But no, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you. Where can people find you at? Where can they work with you?
Yeah. I mean, the
Yeah,
easiest way, Next Level Growth, our website, my email is just chad at nextlevelgrowth.com. That's probably the easiest way. Obviously, you can find me on LinkedIn and all of those places, Instagram as well. But my last name is spelled Nikkel, Nikkel. But yeah, chat at nextlevelgrowth.com. It's the easiest way to get a hold of me. And I'll have a
awesome.
conversation with anyone. I love chatting business.
Let's go. Thank you again so much for your time and for coming on.
Yeah, Tyler, this is great. Thanks for having me.